read all of them, yes.
All right. Thank you, Kaz. Good evening and welcome to the Township Committee meeting of April 28th, 2020. Ms. Barr, please call the roll.
Committeeman Delcor?
Here.
Committeewoman Holmes?
Here.
Committeewoman McCauley? Here. Deputy Mayor Lapani?
Present.
Mayor Thompson?
Here.
Administrator Ferreira?
Here.
Attorney Willard?
Here.
Attorney Bernstein? Is he on mute? Attorney Bernstein?
I don't see him. You, not here.
Before we move forward and you're finished checking for Mr. Bernstein, the video is not working online.
There it is, just came up.
Just
There it
came
is,
up?
came up. Okay.
All right, there we go.
Hey, all right.
Sorry.
You got a delay.
Again, please mute your phones.
Committeeman Delcor? Committeewoman Holmes? You have to mute your phone if you have it on.
Here. Sorry.
That was Eric.
Eric's here.
Okay. Thank you, Eric. Attorney Bernstein.
Here. Again, if you're on the phone calling in, if you could please mute your line. Thank you. Okay. Please join me in a salute to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. First up is please be advised that in accordance with Section 5 of the Open Public Meetings Act, Chapter 231 of the Public Laws of 1975, the notice of this meeting was made by the posting on the bulletin board at the Hillsborough Township Municipal Complex and notifying the officially designated newspapers that this meeting would take place at the Hillsborough Township Municipal Complex at 7:30 p.m. on April 28th, 2020. Thing is approval of minutes. The motion to approve the September 10th, 2019 executive session minutes.
So moved.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Roll call, please.
Committeeman Delcor?
Yes.
Committeewoman Holmes?
Yes.
Committeewoman McCauley?
Abstain?
Deputy Mayor Lapani?
Yes.
Mayor Thompson?
Yes. May I have a motion to approve the October 15th, 2019 executive session minutes?
So moved. Second?
Mayor,
Sorry,
roll call.
I was getting a message that no one can hear anything on the phones.
Move your microphone close.
Is that better?
I don't think it's on.
Is your microphone on?
If you're on-
Hear anything on the YouTube connection?
Is your microphone on, Doug?
How's that?
There you go.
Is that, can everyone hear on the phones now?
No.
I'll take the mixed response.
I can't hear anything. I can't hear anything on YouTube either.
I know the YouTube was streaming a second ago. It looks like it still is. I'm going to mute the lines for a second so we can continue. I believe we have a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
YouTube's working and listening.
YouTube is working? Oh, yeah, I hear it. Okay. All right, so now up for a roll call of the October 15th minutes for approval.
Committeeman Delcor?
Yes.
Committeewoman Holmes?
Yes.
Committeewoman McCauley?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Lapani?
Yes.
And Mayor Thompson?
Yes, moving on to the February 25th, 2020 regular session minutes. We have a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second?
Roll call.
Committeeman Delcor?
Yes.
Committeewoman Holmes?
Yes.
Can everyone hear on the phones now?
Committeewoman McCauley?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Lapani?
Yes.
And Mayor Thompson?
Yeah, abstain. Moving on to March 10th, 2020 regular session minutes. May I have a motion on those?
So moved.
Thank you. Could I have a second?
Second?
Thank you. Roll call, please.
Committeeman Delcor?
Yes.
Committeewoman Holmes?
Yes.
Committeewoman McCauley?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Lapani?
Yes.
And Mayor Thompson?
Yes. Frank, I think you were unable to attend that meeting.
You let the,
Mayor,
I apologize, yes,
Councilman
I
Delcor?
abstain, I apologize.
thank you. Okay, moving on to reports from committee liaisons. First up this evening, Committeeman Frank Delcor.
Thank you, Mayor. As we've been, as we had indicated at the last meeting, we've started to resume some of the meetings that we have from our board and commission sessions. We've been doing them all virtually similar to this meeting. So we started a couple weeks ago. I sat in on the Youth Services Group, the Health Department, Health Commission meeting, Sustainable and Recreation Commission. From Youth Services and Health, mostly was just providing the board members with update on the process that we're going to be going through, what's happening, obviously with health from the health perspective, some of the reporting that we're doing on a daily basis and why that reporting is coming out, what we need to do going forward, and make sure that the Health Commission was fully briefed on the process that we're undertaking. Similar Youth Services was a process where we had advised the group as to some of the items that we've been working through. There was some old business that we worked and we had discussed in terms of some support for some programs that will now be delayed, some things like iRun, but still more work to be done there to figure out the next steps. We also talked about things like Project Graduation and other programs for the high school kids in the absence of having school in session. More work to be done there. No final decisions were made. Sustainability, we met with as well. Committeewoman Holmes joined me for that meeting, and we had talked about a couple of items, but just want to let everyone know that we still do have the compost challenge ongoing. It's been extended in honor of the 50th anniversary of Earth Day, and we would like anyone that wants to participate to complete the pledge by April 30th, which is on Thursday, and to be eligible to enter the drawing for a free compost bin. A link for the compost challenge has been included in the e-news, so anyone that wants to participate, you can find that link in the Township e-news. And then from the Recreation Commission, similar process, we also talked about some of the programs that we've unfortunately had to cancel for the spring, make sure everyone was on board. All programming, I think as we talked about last time, has been canceled for the spring. Refunds will be issued and sent out in early May, and however, the parks do remain open for people to utilize, so that anyone that wants to go to the township parks, so that does not include the county parks such as Sourlands or Mountain View Park, but all of the other township parks remain open for people to walk or utilize, again, making sure they're maintaining safe social distancing, as well as minimizing the number of congregants in the group utilizing the park. So we certainly thank the residents for continuing their support and understanding of the process with the parks as well as our recreation programs, and we hope to get them back up and running as soon as possible. We are happy to announce that we will be undertaking several virtual programming. I know that's been outlined in some of the daily bulletins that have been going out. So right now we're running virtual programs for young Rembrandts, amazing athletes, and through the Fresh Theater Arts, there is a dance and fitness program. So we'll continue to try to add some additional virtual programming as that becomes possible, to at least give people some opportunity to work with our recreation department. And similarly, we've been working in the parks to try to continue to do some work and maintenance out there. And our parks crew has been out, in particular at Willow Road Complex, doing some tree plantings and overall maintenance of the area. So So thanks to our Parks Department for making our parks continue to be the beautiful venues that they are. From a social services perspective, I'd like to thank the Woodford Elementary Home and School Association as they organized a community-wide fundraising event with the Twisted Ink of Flemington, and they've begun selling T-shirts through social media to raise money for our Community Assistance Network, also known as our food bank. In a little over 2 weeks, they've sold over 500 T-shirts, raising more than $5,400 so far. A shopping trip was organized with wife, and on their first trip, they were able to purchase 1,697 food and toiletry items. If you're interested in purchasing a Borough Strong T-shirt, please visit www.woodfernboroughstrong.itemorder.com/sale, and the sale ends on April 30th, 2020. Thank you to Woodfern HSA for arranging this fundraiser and for all those who have purchased T-shirts. And we do have a photo there from the Woodfern HSA, and that's we have Meg Wright, Elizabeth Marquetta, Andrew and Melanie Bory, Carolyn Renner, and Karen Novak. Thanks to them for their assistance in providing some food for the Food Network and the Community Assistance Network. And I also want to thank the Rotary Club of Hillsborough for their food drive that they ran earlier this month. And we also, Bob Wagner, Social Services Director, accepted the food and supply donations for the Hillsborough Can. And I'd like to thank the Rotary and their president, Tricia Marciano, and President-elect Richard Salem for their support of our food network. And finally, Mayor, just one last note. Last week, we were, as part of I think everyone knows that the primaries in the state have been moved from June to July. Normally, we use Hillsborough Middle School and the Hillsborough High School as polling locations for those Election Day events. We were advised last week by the Board of Ed that we would not be able to utilize those two schools. It was a little disappointing. It kind of came fairly late in the process from the Board of Ed, but because of some programs that they are running, they were concerned about having to switch their programs out in order to accommodate the polling locations. So we had to work on Plan B, and some discussion with the administration group in the Board of Ed. We were able to rework some of the process, and it looks like we're going to have a suitable substitute for that. I believe we'll utilize Alton Road as a location, but it was a little touch and go there. We needed to get back to the county to advise them of the polling locations last week, and so we had to do a pretty quick turnaround. So I'd like to thank Clerk Borak for her support in working with us on being able to find a suitable secondary location. And I think we've got it resolved, but if anything else comes about as a result of that, I will certainly make sure everyone is aware of that. That's all from me. Thank you, Mayor.
All right, thank you, and sorry to anyone on the line who got cut off there for a second. We were rebooting it so that we could make sure everyone could hear. So everyone on the phone, you should be back on right now, and everyone online should be able to hear as well. So thank you to our team here for getting that fixed. Next up this evening is Committeewoman Gloria McCauley.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, everybody. Just a few notes from me. Just a quick note, if you didn't see it.
Real quick, I don't mean to interrupt. Just, I was on mute there, so I just want to let everyone know that if you were on the phone, there was an issue. We were able to take care of that, so now everyone should be able to hear both online and on the phone. So hopefully everyone can hear both ways now. Okay. Sorry about that.
No problem. Just a quick note from our police department. If you didn't see it on Channel 4, News Channel 4 the other day, I think it was Monday, the police department and some of the fire department, I believe, drove by to help one of our 16-year-olds in town on a state road celebrate her birthday. So there was a little bit of a excursion over there to wish her a happy birthday, and in these circumstances, certainly I'm sure brightened her day, and wanted to thank the police department for getting out there to support some of the community there. As a reminder for the police department, during COVID-19, it has become necessary to put a temporary patrol response plan in place. I've mentioned it a few times, but just in case you have to call into the police department, it does allow for our police department to take reports over the phone for calls that do not require evidence to be collected or an on-scene investigation to be conducted, or otherwise require an officer to respond to a scene. Residents having these incidents meeting this criteria shall give the information and phone number to the dispatcher as normal, and you will be contacted back by an officer to determine the course of action needed and if a physical response is necessary. At this time, of course, we'll be social distancing. Police officers are being cautious, so we must eliminate any unnecessary exposure to our officers at this time, so they are still able to serve you during this type of situation in our town. Thank you in advance for understanding, trying to keep everyone safe. Kind of exciting news today. Hillsborough, Montgomery Manville Court is one of the first towns in the state to conduct a virtual court, which started this morning, and happy to report that the feedback was extremely positive. And with just a few days' notice and planning, the court was able to put that together and able to process 7 DUI cases in addition to a host of moving violations and some other administrative matters. Judge Tadeo and Prosecutor William Fox conducted these sessions by video, which allowed the defendants and their attorneys to join virtually at this time, or at the designated times. So I thought that was pretty interesting, and wanted to say congratulations to the staff and also to Susan Keith and her staff for moving that process forward and keeping the courts up to date. Finance Office encourages everyone to pay their property taxes by mailing a payment, using the online payment system on the Township website, or leaving the payment in a secure mailbox located near the municipal building, in the rear of the municipal buildings. By the police department entrance, you have to go inside the door. There will be a drop box there, a mailbox that you can put that in. So please, if you are coming around the back, I saw some people looking for it the other day, you do have to go inside of the door. There was a mailbox right inside, so it's secure and safe, and you may drop payments there. Some taxpayers do wish to pay in cash, so if you do want to pay in cash, they are offering some hours. It's Monday or Wednesday from 9 a.m. till noon, and Tuesday or Thursday from 1 to 4 p.m. However, of course, you need to wear a mask, and you need to wear gloves, and or if you don't have a mask, wear something over your face or acceptable means to protect yourselves and others while you're entering the building. Your temperature will be taken upon entering the building, so if your temperature is 99.5 or higher, you will not be allowed to enter into the building. Only one person at a time will be allowed to enter into the building, and you must leave the building immediately after your transaction has been processed. We will not be able to accept check payments at that time, so if you choose to pay by check, please select one of the other options for that method of payment. This is done to protect the residents and all of our staff members here and the employees, so thank you for your patience through that. There are multiple options. If you need assistance, you can always maybe ask a neighbor or certainly call in, as our staff is here on a daily basis to answer any questions. From the clerk's office, as Committeeman Delcourt mentioned a little bit earlier, the June primary has been postponed until July 7th. So with the date of the primary change, deadlines have also changed. May 13th is the deadline to change party affiliation declaration forms for the primary election. May 13th, again, is the deadline. And June 16th is the voter registration deadline for the primary election also. Again, those dates, May 13th for the change of the party affiliation declaration form, and June 16th for the deadline for the primary election and getting your voter registration in. And I think that's it for me this evening, Mayor.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Committeewoman Olivia Holmes.
Hi. Just a reminder about the census. To all township residents, complete your 2020 census survey. Did you know that census results affect planning and funding for infrastructure, including programs for highway planning and construction, housing, federal transit, community development, and rural water and waste disposal systems. Census also Census results also impact planning and funding for employment and training, including programs for vocational rehabilitation, state grants, and dislocated workers, in addition to planning and funding for healthcare programs such as Medicare, Medicaid, state children's health insurance, and the prevention and treatment of substance abuse. So you can learn more about it on 2020census.gov. You can also fill it out online if you'd like. One other thing for agricultural advisory, during these unprecedented times, there are several Hillsborough farms open and offering services to our community as an additional resource for food products. For the latest information regarding the Hillsborough farming community, please visit hillsboroughbusiness.org and click on Hillsborough Harvest icon, or visit the HBA Facebook page. I also wanted to just give my own shout out to the health department. When I attended the meeting this week, it was just amazing to hear how they had to switch gears from what they normally would do to what they have to do now that we have this virus. Their job has quadrupled in what they have to do. Someone who might have this virus, they have to be quarantined, they have to find out their address, they have to find out where they were employed, they have to tell their employer, and it can take anywhere, according to Siobhan, who's our head, it can take anywhere from a half hour to 3 hours just to do this for one patient. So I just am very impressed with how they've shifted gears. If you can imagine, before this, it was getting rabies shots and stuff to our animals, and now they're handling this, and they've never had to do anything like this before, and I think that they're doing an excellent job. Thank you.
Thank you. On the census, I had a great conversation with the district director for Tom Malinowski's office, who said Hillsborough had one of the highest in the entire state rate of return. So it's very great to hear our residents take advantage of that during this time. Next up, Deputy Mayor Sean LaPanny.
That's right.
Thank you, Mayor. First off, I'd like to thank Raj and Navleen Bopari, Mayor Singh, and Kabir Nagpal for the effort they're doing with the Meals for Heroes. I had the opportunity to go with them over to Riddle Acres yesterday, and they collectively have served over 3,000 meals and continue to do more. I'll give you a list of just some of the people they've reached out to. Robert Wood Johnson, obviously Riddle Acres, the Hillsborough Police Department. They plan on doing a fire department when they get back to being able to go to the firehouses. Avalon Assisted Living Center, Plainsboro Police Department, Plainsboro Rescue Squad, CHOP, the Plainsboro Fire Department, Merwick Care Center, Atrium Nursing Home, and they also plan to do Princeton Police Department, just to name a few. This young man, Raj, is a freshman. When I found out that, I was even more surprised. I thought he'd be a senior trying to do some props for college, but he's got a long time to go, and him and his sister and friends are doing a great job. The fact it drew the attention of Governor Murphy, who actually gave him a shout out today in his press conference, saying that exact thing, that they've raised over $30,000 and delivered thus far about 3,000 meals. So, as I told them, it's just great to see Hillsborough. It's a big family here, get together and help each other out, and always proud of what we do for our people here. So a big shout out to those young people. On a more serious note, if you want to take that, though, the building department, as mentioned before, the building is closed to the public, but we are working diligently on a daily basis to ensure our office continues to stay up and running during this COVID-19 outbreak. The staff is working every day, both on the office and remotely. Things such as remote plan review, remote data entry, electronic inspection documentation, email correspondence, and a new innovative ways the building department is adapting through this difficult time. So again, props to Anthony Farrar of keeping this our staff working to support our needs here for our township. And also, as well as the DPW. They went back full-time as of April 13th and are busy performing the following duties and repairs around the township: storm drains, pothole repairs, street signs, the DPW shop maintenance, mechanical equipment repairs, basin inspections, mowing open spaces, welding repairs, ditching and grading projects, the municipal complex maintenance and roadside mowing. So they're all out taking care of our town. Again, they're kind of the unsung heroes, you know, working behind the scenes to keep everything clean, sanitary, and in working order around the town. So a shout out to them also. Please visit the Public Works link at the Township website for a host of information regarding the DPW and any and all questions you may have. And lastly, on another local, the HBA, though a lot of the things are canceled, we are always looking to ways to support our local businesses. And we'd like you to like and follow the Hillsborough Business Association Facebook page, the HBA page, where you can stay up to date with the latest information regarding the status of your favorite Hillsborough businesses. I did notice that they were trying to promote a Takeout Tuesday effort. So if you do need maybe once a week do your takeout to your favorite restaurant, maybe we'll just Tuesday would be the day to really show a township movement to that. And I'm grateful for the residents for our ongoing support, not just the restaurants, but any local business. I own a local business in town, and the people have come in and thanked us for being there for their needs. But I would also ask my fellow businesses to help the struggling out-of-work families in any way possible. I know you have compassion for your customers, and that is evident as always, and I'm hopeful that maybe you could assist them in any way through this trying times by any means possible, whether it be deferred payments, specials, sales, whatever. I know that we offer some specials that we normally wouldn't, just to help our customers through this time. So I know that you care about your customers for now and the long term, and that's it.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor.
And mask goes back on.
Yes, mask up. A few things for me this evening. First up, obviously a COVID-19 update. As you have heard from some of my colleagues already, various programs and activities are either being postponed or canceled as we continue to operate Hillsborough Township under numerous executive orders from the governor's office. And speaking of executive orders, there's a resolution later on this agenda extending the deadline to pay second quarter taxes until June 1st per Executive Order 130. Back to the operations of the township. Each day on the township website, an e-news bulletin is sent out with the updated numbers of cases, including those that have recovered, which is encouraging news, as well as the breakout of our long-term care facilities and nursing home facilities. As a reminder, the Hillsborough Township Health Department continues to monitor all cases and is working with the state to identify any potential contacts for follow-up. A representative from Hillsborough Township Health Department will reach out to all individuals determined to have been in close contact with the positive testing persons within the 48 hours of each case being scientifically confirmed. There have been some questions as to the numbers being reported. The numbers posted are those that are reported by Hillsborough Township's Health Department based on reports from the New Jersey Department of Health surveillance system. Reported numbers are only from those individuals who have been tested for COVID-19 and are confirmed positive through an FDA-approved laboratory for COVID-19 testing purposes. It does not include those contacts of the individuals, of the positive individuals or any individuals who are sick and have not been tested. The number of cases in the section by age and deceased cannot be added to the long-term care facility and assisted living facilities confirmed cases and confirmed deceased to get a total case count and a total deceased count. The reason for this is that there are different reporting mechanisms in place capturing the data. The New Jersey Department of Health surveillance system obtains reports from state-run labs. The long-term care facility and assisted living facilities utilize many different labs, state, out-of-state, and private. Therefore, their numbers are not completely reflected in the total Hillsborough numbers from the state systems at the time. That withstanding, you cannot simply add the two sets of numbers either to get a total case count, as some of the LTC, ALF numbers are counted in the state system. So I hope that clears up some of that confusion that's out there. So moving on to what's next. We have been operating under the governor's stay-at-home executive order since March 21st, and although it appears it will remain in effect for the foreseeable future, I am assembling a task force to be in place to reopen Hillsborough when the time comes. I look to the various expertise and function areas, including health, public safety, and business. And as you saw, the Governor Murphy named a group similar today during his press conference. And as we have said, here in Hillsborough, our municipal services have been operating since the onset of the pandemic. Despite the building being closed to the public, this task force will be charged with assisting in the rollout of physically opening the buildings to the public, as well as the rest of the community, including our schools, the library, and our businesses. The individuals selected to be on the task force include the Office of Emergency Management Director, John Sheridan, our Health Officer, Siobhan Spano, our Chief of Police, Mike McMahon, Deputy Mayor, Sean LaPani, Committeeman Frank Delcourt, our Administrator, Anthony Ferreira, our Township Clerk and Public Information Officer, Pamela Borak, our Business Advocate, David Coyce, from our Economic and Business Development Commission, Chair Charles Ruggiero, Economic and Business Development Commission member Janine Erickson, and School Superintendent Dr. Lisa Antunes. So we look forward to the meeting. We're going to ask that they start meeting relatively shortly.
Excuse me, Mayor, and also Karen Pfeiffer from the library. I apologize.
No, thank you. And also Karen Pfeiffer from our library. And as I mentioned, we would like to get this group meeting as soon as possible to start going over how we're going to start implementing the governor's orders, because I imagine relatively shortly, although we put out a roadmap, that we should start seeing individual businesses being pushed to reopen. So this group will be tasked with how they can do that. And also, I think the governor mentioned on one of his calls, or I believe it was on TV, on Squawk Box on CNBC, that there's a possibility that schools could still reopen. And if that's the case, then we're all going to have to work together to make sure all our children are safe when they return back to schools, and for all the teachers. So this group will be tasked with helping out any way we can to get us to that point. Moving on to Memorial Day, on Saturday, May 23rd, 2020, we would have marked the 15th annual Salute to Veterans Breakfast at the Peter J. Biondi Municipal Building here in Hillsborough Township. Instead, the building will remain closed that day as a result of COVID-19. It is unfortunate that we have to cancel the Memorial Day weekend program this year as a result of the pandemic. Given the current status of stay-at-home orders and social distancing requirements, coupled with the planning necessary for the annual breakfast, parade, and commemoration program, it has become necessary to cancel the events normally held on Memorial Day weekend. Once the restrictions are lifted, the township will look at the possibility of holding a program at a later date. And despite me just saying that the Memorial Day program is canceled, we are announcing that Hillsborough resident Thomas Salili Jr., an Army veteran, has been named Hillsborough Township's Grand Marshal for 2020. Mr. Salili will carry over as Grand Marshal into 2021 Memorial Day Parade. Planning for the event started before COVID-19, and typically we announce the Grand Marshal in late April or early May. And I realize it seems confusing that we're announcing the cancellation of the event, but still announcing a Grand Marshal. Mr. Salili was selected before the pandemic caused the cancellation of this public event, and we felt it is still appropriate to honor him despite the event not happening this year. Mr. Salili will represent the township for the remainder of the year as restrictions are gradually lifted. Moving on to road paving, we are continuing on our road paving plan for 2020. The list of roadways are as follows. 1 Andrea Avenue from Farm Road to Route 206, Champlain Road between Route 206 and Sunnymead, Hillsborough Road between the bypass and Willow Road, Wartsville Road between Montgomery and Township boundary, Brooks Boulevard between Route 206 and the St. Mary's Byzantine Church, East Mountain Road between East Mountain Road and the Township boundary, Green Hills Development, PS&G paving, is paving half the width due to gas work that needs to be completed. And there may be some delays with Champlain Road as well because of PS&G doing lines, but those are the projects that we're pushing for this year. The above listing is what is planned, and as most people know at this point, we do an evaluation and run a 5-year plan here in Hillsborough Township. That wraps it up for me this evening. Thank you to everyone who has been on the call, and thank you to everyone who has been supporting our local businesses and community, ordering takeout, and just being a great citizen here in Hillsborough. I know this is trying times. We are not through this by any stretch, and recovery is going to be just as bad as the pandemic at the beginning. But I know together Hillsborough will certainly be stronger, and as we've all noted, we're borough strong, and we will get through this. Okay. We will continue to update our residents daily via our special e-news bulletin, and all updates are posted on the Township website as well. Thank you to all of our healthcare professionals, first responders, essential personnel, which include our local grocery stores and pharmacies, and our Township employees who have been working throughout this crisis to keep our town running smoothly. As always, you can stay connected with all events and more via the Friday e-news and Twitter. TV 29 and the Hillsborough YouTube channel showcase our meetings and the Hillsborough The Good Life episodes and Hillsborough alerts for traffic and emergency notifications. We're going to move on to proclamations, and despite not being able to have any members of the public attend these meetings, we will bring forth awareness related to proclamations as appropriate. So first up this evening is going to be National Gardening Month. National Gardening Month was established in 2002. April means spring and a chance to celebrate new life. Gardens have played an important role in the history of human culture, from sources of food to locations for leisure and entertainment. Victory gardens during World War II supplied homes with fresh vegetables, fruits, and herbs, and today, pandemic gardens can do the same. Gardening gets you out into the fresh air, adds positive energy, and provides an activity for the entire family. Last year, the NESHANIC Gardening Club celebrated its 90th anniversary in service and fellowship to the communities of Hillsborough, Branchburg, and Montgomery. The club is in the process of installing a Blue Star Memorial on the Hillsborough Municipal Campus to honor the men and women who have served our nation. The NESHANIC Gardening Club also provides speakers to encourage the art of horticulture, floral design, and the safekeeping of our environment during its monthly meetings. Now therefore be it proclaimed that we, the mayor and the Hillsborough Township Committee, do hereby declare April as National Gardening Month and encourage all Hillsborough residents to celebrate the National Gardening Month through appreciating virtually the beautiful gardens of the world, or growing a pandemic garden in the spirit of the 2020 theme, Let's Grow Together. And I believe we have an individual on the line. If we want to unmute the line for a second. What was her name again? I apologize.
Barbara.
It's Barbara? If everyone could mute their lines except for Barbara, if you would like to say a few words from the Garden Club. I can't read your lips under the...
Do you have her note that I give you?
Yes. All right, if we could mute the line, I'll just go ahead and read the note.
Now, in listen-only mode.
All right, so Barbara sent in a note saying to the members of the Township Committee and the community, the members would like to thank you for the proclamation regarding the National Gardening Month and the NESHANIC Gardening Club. Even though our contributions may be small, they are visible throughout Hillsborough, Branchburg, and Montgomery communities. We will continue our efforts to beautify our local gardens and stimulate interest in gardening through workshops and monthly meetings as the current crisis allows. From Barbara Zilsdorf, NESHANIC Gardening Club. All right. Thank you, Barbara. Now moving on to another proclamation, this one for Parkinson's Awareness Month. Parkinson's disease is a chronic progressive neurological disease and is the second most common neurodegenerative disease in the United States. It is currently estimated to affect approximately 1 million people in the United States, and the prevalence will more than double by 2040. Research suggests that the cause of Parkinson's disease is a combination of genetic and environmental factors, but the exact cause and progression of the disease is still unknown. There is no objective test or biomarker for Parkinson's, and there is no cure or drug to slow or halt the progression of the disease. The symptoms of Parkinson's disease vary from person to person and can include tremors, slowness of movement and rigidity, difficulty with balance, swallowing, chewing and speaking, cognitive impairment, dementia, mood disorders, and a variety of other non-motor symptoms. Increased research, education, and community support services such as those provided by the Parkinson's Foundation and other organizations are needed to find more effective treatments and to provide access to quality care to those with the disease. The mission of Rocksteady Boxing is to empower people with Parkinson's disease to fight back. The Hillsborough Rocksteady Boxing affiliate opened in March 2017 and helps those with Parkinson's to improve their function and quality of life through boxing-inspired fitness programs. Now therefore be it proclaimed that we, the mayor of the Township Committee of the Township of Hillsborough, hereby declare April as National Parkinson's Awareness Month and urge residents to support the search and for a cure and assist those individuals and families who deal with devastating illness on a daily basis. And I believe we have, we have a video we're going to play first, and then we have someone I think who wants to talk. Video was a little loud, so we're going to try that one more time. Wake you up! I say you just play it.
All right, I gotta play it, sorry.
really wish everyone could hear how loud that was at home. I think we're gonna give it one more shot. There we go. What? I can't hear you.
I think it's just me.
That was great. Yeah. I believe that there, Barbara Kelly, is it? Barbara Kelly from Rocksteady Boxing, want to say a few words. If we could unmute the line for her. Again, if you were on the line, please mute yourself unless you're Barbara Kelly right now. So Barbara.
I'm Barbara Kelly.
All right, the floor is yours, Barbara.
Okay, thank you so much. So I'm the owner and head coach of Rocksteady Boxing here in Hillsborough. Our classes are usually held in the CKO gym by Cole. Of course, we're not operating right now. On behalf of all my fighters with Parkinson's disease and their care partners, I would like to thank Mayor Thompson and Hillsborough Township Committee for this proclamation. No one wants to hear that they've been diagnosed with Parkinson's disease, but I'm so glad that we can have this program available here in Hillsborough to provide hope and support to those that are going through this. Our Rocksteady Boxing program is unique. It's a supportive program in general. Over 3 years I've been running this program, and I just want to give a shout out to our volunteers. I've worked with over 40 generous and compassionate volunteers over the past 3 years. Last week, I understand, was Volunteer Appreciation Week, so I couldn't do this without them. As you know, due to the coronavirus, we had to cancel our face-to-face classes, but we recently started some live stream classes, and I just want to say I'm so proud of my boxers and their care partners for trying to stay active and now for learning how to Zoom. We know exercise is medicine and can ease the symptoms of Parkinson's and possibly even slow the progression of the disease. I just have to say my boxers inspire me beyond words. Seeing their hard work and tenacity is just awe-inspiring. We have a mantra at Rocksteady Boxing, never give up. They live it every day. So again, thank you for this proclamation for Parkinson's Awareness Month.
Thank you, Barbara.
Participants are now in listen-only mode.
On behalf of the Township Committee, just thank you for everything you're doing for anyone who's been afflicted by Parkinson's. So thank you to Barbara, thank you to CKO, and I think you guys had some pretty great shirts in there. It looks like everyone's having a great time. So again, thank you for bringing attention to the Township Committee. Okay, we're going to move on to public comment on new business and matters on the agenda. I am aware that it's about 45 to 50 seconds behind on the YouTube. So we're going to open up the phones first, and then we'll go over. Again, this is for matters that are not on the agenda this evening.
All participants are now in interactive talk mode.
If you are on the line, please state your name and address for the record. Again, if you're on the phone, name and address for the record. And if you're on YouTube, name and address for the record as well. Thank you. Okay.
Hello?
Did I hear you, Merrill?
Okay, thank you.
Yep, name and address for the record, please.
Hi, this is 43 Hill Road.
Thank you.
And let me take you up so it's clear. Okay. About 2 weeks ago, there was a news release my only question about this is basically what has been approved, so we know what to add those 195 units to.
Or,
Determine what our commitment was for round 3 or 4, whatever we need to do until then.
I'm sorry, I'm having a real tough time hearing you because if other people can mute the line, if you're not speaking, but I believe Merrill, if you don't mind, if I could have your question summation, that you were asking for what projects we are saying are approved in the press release. Is that correct?
Not so much what project, but what number of units, plus the 195 that you said was over the number of units that were already approved, is going to be basically our commitment for round 3, on which this, around which this agreement.
Okay. Mr. Bernstein, do you have that number right in front of you, or I have my press release behind me, but I know Mr. Bernstein's on the line. Would you mind answering that real quick? If not, I can grab it.
And then I guess while he's looking for that,
Not
the
sure
other
where I
question
put my
will be
press
how many
release.
market rates go with that to determine the overall number of units we're obligated to.
I don't think we have the market rate number yet,
No.
but Eric, you were about to say something? I'm sorry.
No, we don't have the market rate, that's not the requirement in terms of affordable, I believe, don't quote me because as I said, my example second always is, hold on one second. The number is approximately 600, I believe it's somewhere around 645.
So that includes the 195, or it's plus 195?
Plus the 195.
Okay. And do you have a rough idea of the market rates to go with that, based on the developments that have been approved during the office?
No, because a number of them are supporter needs housing that didn't come with market rate units.
Mm-hmm.
So I can't tell you exactly how many of these then produced market rate.
Okay. And of those 645, well, I'm assuming the 195 haven't been zoned, planned, or constructed. But of the other 645, I guess it is, about what percentage of those have been built? Because I don't know if this goes back to 2015 or if this is just from 2019 on.
This actually goes back, Merrill, to 1998. Everybody needs to remember that this round, the 1998 to 2025 round, my recollection is that more than 50%, possibly as much as 60%, has already been built. 644 and about 60% of them have already been built.
60% of the 645.
60% of the 644 have already been built.
Okay. All right, and then the other question is, I know in December, I just have one more question because I know we don't want to take too much time on this, but I know that in December we talked about Green Hills being, the development between Green Hills and Temple Bethel being required, as well as Royce Brook, in order to reach our agreement. But there have been a couple of press releases and additional developments, I think including the one tonight, that's on the agenda. So my question is, we're making commitments in order to reach the settlement, but we haven't owned or planned some of these, right? Is my assumption.
That's correct.
Not many, though. I want to indicate most of them have either, that are still out there, have either been zoned and approved by the planning board or rezoned. And awaiting planning board approval, and there are only a small handful that are waiting to either be rezoned, one of them tonight, and/or awaiting to go before the planning board.
And Eric, just to be clear, Eric, just to be clear, this still needs to be approved by the court early next month, correct?
That is correct. There was a fairness hearing before the court. It still needs to exist, but I will indicate that a vast majority of the 195 requires zoning, but some of it has already been put into place. For example, of that 195 includes phase 2 of the Sherman site, which has already been zoned for affordable housing.
Okay. Any other questions, Merrill?
No, I think that's it. When is, and that hearing's in May?
Yes. May 5th.
Okay. All right, thanks very much.
Thank you, Merrill. Any other comments from the public on the phone?
Hi, this is Donetta Johnson, 1 Taylor Street. Hello? Can you hear me?
Yes, please go.
Hi, this is Donetta Johnson, 1 Taylor Street. Good evening, Mayor and the Township Committee. I hope everyone is well. I want to first of all thank everyone for all the work that you're doing during this emergency. And thank you for all the SBA resources and informative links on the Township website. As you know, the last round of PPP, or the latest round of PPP, was replenished as of this previous Monday. Many small businesses that are doing banking with major lenders are queued up and will likely not receive that funding. Also, many self-employed and contract workers are not eligible for that funding. So I wanted to know, do you have any insight to help this class of Hillsborough businesses?
Well, first off, although many of those individuals, you're talking about these independent contractors for your last statement. For independent contractors, although they can apply to the SBA and get PPP, their round of real funding comes under the PUA, which is the Pandemic Unemployment Assistance. Although, speaking for independent contractors, if you, right now, I was on a call with the Commissioner of Labor, and what they have advised is that you apply even though you're a 1099 employee and have not paid into unemployment insurance, you apply and become denied for unemployment insurance. That way you're in the queue for the PUA. The PUA has not been released by the state government yet, or how to apply for that. So any individual who's an independent contractor or a 1099 individual is not currently receiving any funds from the state. Again, they've never paid into unemployment, so this is a first time. So I will give credit to the state that they are working in uncharted territories and sort of figuring out how to start getting out that money. So again, if you're an independent contractor and you've applied for unemployment insurance, you will be denied. Most of them are being sent a Bank of America card, MasterCard, I'm sorry, not Bank of America, just a MasterCard in the mail with a $0 actually on that credit card because, again, there's no funds there yet. Hopefully, as soon as they get the money rolling from the federal government and it be able to disseminate it from the state, that's when the PUA will kick in. So really, it's now a waiting game with the Department of Labor when they can get that funds going for all of our independent contractors. So I hope that answered your question.
Right, I hope that covers self-employed, and I'm really concerned about the lack of businesses that are not savvy with computer and online processing and all of that. Is there any support that the township is providing, or any resources available to help people like that take advantage of this emergency funding?
Well, I'm sure any one of them can reach out to David Coyce, our business advocate, and they'll be more than happy to help him.
Mayor, and I know David, along with the Somerset County Business Partnership, are working with local businesses to help them through that, help them navigate some of that process. So David has been, I know, speaking with a number of our local businesses, and that information is getting out. So if anyone does have any questions on that, they can either reach out to us, and if we can't answer, we'll get them to the county or the right state people.
Great, thank you. Appreciate that, Committeeman Delcor.
All right, thank you.
Any other comments from individuals on the phone? Seeing none, if we could close the bridge. Thank you.
All participants
Okay.
are now.
I don't see any comments online. I think we waited more than the 50 seconds there, so we're going to move on to presentations. So tonight we have a presentation from the Department of Public Works Director Rich Reserway. This is sort of in response to some misinformation, intentional misinformation that was put out regarding the Tree Mitigation Fund online recently. So I asked Rich if he could do a presentation and sort of talk about everything that's been going on there. So Rich, I will turn it over to you.
Okay. Hello, Mayor, and everybody else. I'll do the best I can. I'm a little bit off course with what I'm looking at and how I'm talking here. So I'm going to do my best, and I'm going to go right off of my presentation in front of me. So I realized the tree mitigation committee was discussed in the last Township committee meeting, and my purpose tonight is to kind of just assure everyone that things are in good hands and we are working hard. I thought it might be helpful to briefly provide a 4-point strategy being used to basically realize the greatest value from the funding that we do have. And I'll go right into that. Our number one focus, and this is our number one focus that I've taken on as the Director of Public Works 5 years ago as kind of a concept for the entire department. As it pertains to this, education and upgrading our education is the most important thing. We identified people for the task of the tree work specifically by surrounding us with qualified people internally. We were able to look at issues in a competent fashion, and we feel this will be our long-term success in addressing our community forestry items well beyond the funding, because the funding evidently will run out at some point when the building stops, but the problem won't, and I think we'll have a staff at that point in place that's incredibly sustainable. I'd like to point out 2 individuals, Ron Christie and Jay Winters, 2 young and up-and-comers that have gone well above and beyond to achieve their arborist certifications, and that, believe me, that's no easy task. Very determined guys, very motivated people, and I'm very happy to be working with them. It makes it a lot easier for me. And along with them, we have 10 shade tree Federation core-trained people, and believe me, our people working alongside the arborists are incredibly well-trained people. So I don't want to make it seem like we only have the 2. We have a multitude of people with a lot of different talents, and they continue to maintain their CEUs. Next on the list is equipment purchases. We reviewed this, and the committee was nice enough to kind of go that route to allow us to purchase equipment. Incredibly important is the 50-foot boom truck, which was a recent purchase. I don't know if we ever would have realized that with competing priorities in our capital. We maintain our equipment very well, and it's going to give us the ability to do things that we certainly couldn't do in the past. And it's a motivational factor to be a part of the tree work. When people see the equipment being invested in, if you're in any type of work like this, it's a motivating factor to want to be a part of that. What are we doing? Where are we putting our attention? Public safety. It's a big public works thing in general. From the tree maintenance standpoint, if we want to look at maybe 2012 on, we've had, starting with Sandy and working our way through winters that were icy and causing all kinds of damage, and then you add in the emerald ash borer, like all these different things that are negative effects on our tree canopy and safety in general. So our manpower has been totally focused on keeping people safe, and I'm convinced that we've saved numerous lives by taking down trees well in advance of them just falling. So, again, credit to our guys in the field that are seeing this and addressing it. And then next, and this is going back to the folks that were initially on this tree mitigation committee. To their credit, George Fenwick, Tom Biro, like what we kind of, the thing was make an impact. How are we going to make an impact? And that's effective design and installations, right trees to the right spot. $300,000, which is in the account right now, sounds like not a lot, but you spread it out over 54 square miles. It's really not that much money. So you have to pick your spot, and that was one of them. So we're working right now on a couple different ideas that we're going to act on with the road medians, as you know, and that's going to be a great thing for people all around town to notice those improvements. And as Committeeman Delcourt was pointing out, the passive park project going on Willow Road, that's going to be done in phases, and you know, you can thank all of you on the committee for that one with fast tracking that, because that's really moving along nicely. And lastly, our community forestry plan. You would think that this might be a first item, but not necessarily, because this is what you work towards when you get all of these other items in place. And we feel like we're ready to do that with a formal arborist position now established, and 2 people actually being trained in it. Gives us a much better aspect of addressing these things. Installation projects, the parks will be doing numerous projects, not all large, but when a tree dies and you can supplement it quickly because there's funding, that's a big deal. You eliminate sometimes a long process in finding money for stuff like that. And we're going to address our grant funding for a new plan in 2022, and we look forward to adding and seeing what the competing priorities are, you know, moving down the road. We have to make it sustainable, and when I retire and the other guys retire that I'm working with, it just moves right along. And that's pretty much what I wanted to kind of tell you know, the mayor and committee today, that we are working hard, things are being done. It's not all glamorous because a lot of it is safety work, but things are being addressed and acknowledged. And I'll turn it back to you, Mayor.
All right, thank you, Rich. I appreciate that. Like I said, I just wanted you to give an update on all the hard work that your team does, because I know there are numerous people in there that are working hard on behalf of the township, so I do appreciate that. So we're going to move on to public hearing at this time. There was one question came in that I'm working on getting the answer to from Susan Gulliford regarding whether or not the affordable housing hearing is going to be open to the public. Eric, are you on the line? No? Okay. Susan, we will get you that answer, okay? All right, moving on to the public hearing, 2020-08, an ordinance of the Township of Hillsborough, Somerset County, New Jersey, amending Chapter 188 of the Land Use and Development, Article 5, Districts and Standards, Section 18898, RA, RSR, R1, R2, CR, AH, RCA, PD, residential districts by adding R8A, that's R, the number 8A, zone to apply to blocks 182, lots 9, 11.01, and 46.01, and blocks 183, lot 38.02. Please keep in mind that this hearing is carried from March 24th and is being heard this evening per direct direction from the court. If you recall, at the last, or 2 meetings ago, I asked that we send a letter to the court asking that we hold off on doing basically any affordable resolutions or ordinances until a time when the public could be present. That was not accepted by the court, and we were directed from them that we have no choice but to continue moving forward on affordable housing hearings, including this one. I imagine they're basing that off the executive order by the governor that deemed affordable housing an essential construction, so I'm guessing that's where it's coming from. But again, this is being ordered by the court, not something that we wanted to continue at this time without having the public in the building. As indicated when this ordinance was introduced, this proposed ordinance would rezone the former Glengarry Quarry located between Hamilton Road and Falcon Road from its current designation as an M mining and CZ corporate development zone to a new zone district to be known as Residential 8A. This new residential district would permit the construction of up to 380 single-family homes on 8,000 square foot lots. The district would include an affordable housing obligation of 88 units, which are to be constructed off-site in accordance with the court-sanctioned settlement agreement between Hillsborough Township and M&M Realty Partners, LLC. The primary purpose of this ordinance is to accommodate the construction of affordable housing units that will contribute to the township's efforts to meet its court-imposed affordable housing obligation. May I have a motion to open this public hearing on ordinance 220-08?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Seeing none, is there any discussion from the dais? Seeing none, we're going to move to the floor. Before we open up the lines, if you have a question online, if you could start typing it as people are commenting on the phone. That way, by the time we make it over to the online comments, because they are about 45 seconds, 60 seconds behind on video, we'll be ready to go with your questions. That would be greatly appreciated. Because if I don't see any comments online when we're done with the people talking on the phone, I'm going to assume that there are no additional comments. That being said, if we could go ahead and open that up.
All participants are now in interactive talk mode.
And if you could please mute your line if you are on the phone, because as soon as we unmuted there was a lot of conversation. So if you could state your name and address for the record, please.
Yes, I'll do something.
Hello?
Yes, please state your name and address for the record, please.
My name's David Brook, 7 Winding Way, Hillsborough. Can you hear me okay first?
It is difficult, but it is not your fault. Several people are not muting their phones, so,
No, it's the replay down there.
oh no. It's
I will try to speak up a little bit more.
Okay.
Is that better?
Okay.
Sure, yes, please continue.
Okay. As it relates to the ordinance 2020-08,
Yes.
I believe the Township Committee should vote no tonight to rezone this property. Since, as far as I can tell, there's not enough information in the hands of the Township Committee or the residents of Hillsborough to make an informed decision. First, your role in making decisions on land use rezoning should be to rezone to the highest and best use for a property. I think, and I ask, that changing the zone from a mining and corporate development zone to residential may not be the highest and best use. Here's why. There's many questions about the property, this property, that I think really need to be answered before the township acts to rezone. As all of you may be aware or may not be aware, more than 600,000, that's 600,000, more than 600,000 cubic yards of biosolids and other fill material was imported to this property for reclamation when the quarry closed. Much of that was treated sewage sludge that, in certain cases, depending upon the treatment plant, has been known to contain high levels of heavy metals. Now, that might be acceptable for a property zone for mining. However, as most of you know, again, standards for residential property for these types of contaminants are lower, simply because we don't want people living in houses and playing on their lawns when the soil's contaminated. That's DEP, Department of Environmental Protection. So my question is, are we proposing to build homes on soils that are possibly contaminated above residential standards? Do you, members of the Township Committee, know the answer? Since, in my mind, it could be a big problem for everyone, both in the development and then if it's built on property that's contaminated. And by the way, just to give everybody an example,
the inside volume of the Capitol building in Washington, D.C., that big building with the rotunda, is about 50,000 cubic yards. So they brought in enough to fill 12 Capitol buildings, which I would suggest is a significant quantity, and we really ought to know the answer to it. The second thing, the brick plant was operating there since 1953 under a different name. Glengarry bought it, I believe, somewhere in the 80s. My question is, has there been sufficient environmental site investigation of the plant and the property to determine what, if any, portions of the property, soil and groundwater, might be contaminated? That's a long time to operate a facility. I mean, if we know, good. If not, we should know before we go and rezone. The third thing, building single-family houses ultimately raises all of our taxes by creating a greater need for municipal services. In my mind, the best way to keep our taxes from going up would be to not build residential houses there. There's other places we can build. Maybe leaving this zone or changing it to a light industrial zone would benefit all of us because we have higher value rateables. My question is, was that option investigated before we went to rezone? Fourth thing, the Royce Brook, as all of you may know, travels directly through this property. Large portions of the property have environmentally sensitive land. There's wetlands and there's stream corridors, and honestly, it's really a beautiful natural area around the stream. My question is, if it's developed, has the township sought to establish a protected greenway, potentially with pedestrian bike access to Promenade Shopping Center because it's right there? My fifth concern, mining on Glengarry's property, as you also know, significantly lowered and changed the property elevations near the Royce Brook and the side streams. That is not clear with regards to the consequences of that, other than there were large hills and there were large depressed areas. Has this property, do we know if this property has been more recently examined to determine if the current wetlands and the current floodplain and the current floodway are larger and potentially more restrictive than the older mapping might show, since it's possible that the buildable land is different and or less than what is believed for this rezoning, especially if any older maps were used before a lot of that mining was taking place. So, conclusion, I believe that until the township knows the answers to these questions, it should refrain from changing this zoning, right? Because since the township committee and the people of Hillsborough may find that this change will cause more harm than good. And that's something I would ask everybody to take a look at. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Do we have any other comments on the phone? Seeing none, if we close the bridge. Yep, yes. Please state your name and address for the record.
Sure. This is Joseph B. Maloney, 27 Stonwood Drive, Hillsborough, New Jersey.
Yes.
First, a big thank you. It's great to see democracy in action, and I speak for a number of residents. We should continue this forum. Looking at 29 people watching, I don't know how many people are on the phone. So that's a shout out to all the township committee personnel and also to the committee itself. My question concerns the process. I actually printed the ordinance here, and I just have a simple question. Did MM present a plan to develop this property?
So this is just rezoning. They did present how many they would like to build to the courts. And Eric Bernstein, if you are still in line, if you'd like to jump in. However, this is not the planning board. This is simply rezoning it. And that's why when it go before the planning board, much like the previous callers' questions, all of that will have to be addressed, whether it be soil samples, ensuring that the property is clean, all of that needs to be looked at prior to a property being built. We're going through this with another property that is being zoned for affordable housing that may have wetlands. That has to go through the planning board, and they must get DEP approval. So just wanted, that's the answer to that. And Eric, are you on the line?
I just have, yes, I just have a follow-up to that.
Hold on one second. Sir, hold on one second. Eric, could you finish answering that, and then we'll go back to you?
The answer, Your Honor, is that attached to the ordinance,
And that's why when it go before the
there is a concept.
All participants are now in listen-only mode.
Because he's the only one on that line. Sorry, just go back.
All participants are now in interactive talk mode.
we looked at prior to.
All right, hold on one second, Eric. If someone, if you are not speaking, if you could please mute your phone, because it's incredibly difficult for everyone to hear the speakers. I'd greatly appreciate it. Eric, could you try again, please?
Eric, are you on the?
I'm getting a lot of feedback, Your Honor, but for the purposes of answering Mr. Maloney's question, attached to the ordinance is a proposed concept plan for M&M Realty relative to the site in question. Obviously, it is still subject to DEP review relative to wetlands and related items, but there is a proposal to allow the zoning in accordance with the ordinance.
If you are not speaking, if you could please mute your phone because it's
Thank you,
incredibly
Eric.
difficult.
Sir, do you have you said you had a follow-up question, and I apologize for, if someone could mute, that'd really help.
Eric, could you try again, please?
Okay, just a follow-up question, if you can hear me. I'm particularly interested in the depth in which it is specified, as to the height of the cabanas, the height of the buildings itself not to exceed 35 feet. How could we possibly write an ordinance with that exact type of of knowledge?
So, again, that's what goes through the planning board process. We're saying it can't go higher than those in the zone change. But again, it goes through the planning board where you and every member or every resident of Hillsborough can come out and talk to the planning board about ways to possibly address this ordinance as well. And again, sir, I apologize that it's so difficult to participate because someone isn't muting their phone. I apologize.
And one last question. Well, I can't hear. I'll just leave it at that.
Sir, feel free to email me at mayor@hillsborough-nj.org, and I'll try to answer any of your follow-up questions, okay? All right, is there any other comments? If not, we're going to move over to the online. If we could go ahead and mute it.
All participants are now in listen-only mode.
Okay, all right, I'm going to read through them real quick. Susan, I believe I answered your question, but if I didn't, it will, Susan Gulliford, I'm sorry, from Hunts Club Road. The meeting will be online in a Zoom, that court hearing. We don't have the information for that yet. From Alice Homan, we are concerned about the amount of traffic that will not only be for Hamilton Road, but Hillsborough also. 380 new homes will be very large burden for our township. Alice Hoffman, 67 Hillsborough Road, I believe that is. I don't disagree. The original proposal for this project, and I think Mr. Maskey is on the line, but I think I have these numbers right. They wanted to build over 2,000 units on this property, and through intense negotiation through Mr. Bernstein, it's now down to 380. So again, it was 2,000 plus homes that were going to be on there. And Mr. Maskey is on the line? Eric, do I have that number correct? It was over 2,000?
It was the original was slightly over 2,000. The proposal they put on initially was somewhere in that range with 20% affordable. So we were looking at roughly 2,000 residential multifamily units, of which 400 of them would be affordable, 1,600 plus or minus would be market, and therefore significantly more market than we absolutely needed. We were successful in reducing it to the not to exceed 380, with the 24% to be built on the Sherman parcel.
Okay, thank you. But Alice, I agree with you. If you've ever heard us speak before at the Township Committee, our biggest concern about this is an unfunded mandate from the state of New Jersey that's really participating all this building. I won't get into what I normally say about affordable housing at this time, but I encourage you to go back and watch the YouTube video from last year that Mayor Frank Delcourt put on regarding affordable housing. It's really eye-opening of what's been put upon us here in Hillsborough. I think you had another comment. You said that you're in agreement, and if this many homes were to be built, how would this affect overcrowding our schools and grocery stores? Again, that is not something that is worried about by this unfunded mandate from the state of New Jersey. Jim Leverchuk from 12 Camden Road, what is our affordable housing unit commitment in number of units? That's not really pertaining to this exact ordinance, unless you're asking how many in this ordinance, and I think we mentioned that. It is 88 units is being built off-site because of this, because of the unfunded mandate from the state of New Jersey and being done through this ordinance. Patty Rose from Falcon Crest Lane. Who, as the township, will be responsible for addressing the expired wetlands interpretation letter for this space and are assuring it is addressed? That has to go through the planning board, and that'll be addressed there, I believe. Is that correct, Eric?
What was that, Your Honor?
So I got the answer from my colleagues on the dais, both from Deputy Mayor LaPanny and from Mr. Delcourt. That'll be addressed by the planning board. Patty Rose again from Falcon Crest Lane. The area is home to at least 5 species of migratory water birds and 5 species of raptors, using the area as a hunting grounds.
All wetlands designations will be determined by the New Jersey State Department of Environmental Protection. The necessary documents will have to be filed as part of any application, and the impact upon those letters of interpretation and related documents may impact the size and design of the plan.
Thank you. If this is now from Mary Leota from 2 Aldrin Court. Supportive of meeting our affordable housing obligation. Ordinance does not include standards for overall tract, add buffer to neighbors, open space, pervious coverage. Again, things that will be addressed at the planning board. From J.P. Maloney, my question is, who wrote the ordinance? That would be Eric Bernstein, our attorney, who's our Affordable Housing Counsel.
In conjunction, Your Honor, with David Maskey, the Township Planning Director, and with negotiations with M&M Realty's counsel, Douglas Wilson, and the court's special master, Elizabeth McManus, and I believe also input from Adam Gordon, the Fairshire Housing Center Executive Director.
Thank you. Another question from Alice. If this many homes were to be built, how would this affect the schools? I apologize, I answered that one. Jim, you had another question, statement from 12 Camden Road, and I'm going to ask you to email me. There is technology that will give you better control over the meeting. I can help you. Please email me at mayor@hillsborough-nj.org. We'll be happy to look over that in any way that we can make these meetings better and more accessible. So thank you for that, and appreciate your patience. Alice Homan, the 2,000 to 380 doesn't change the question. I think we answered your question above. If I didn't, I apologize. Betty Rhodes, Falcon Crest Lane. The adjacent Royce Brook is already prone to flooding. How will the increased runoff from the property due to increased impervious surface be addressed? Again, that has to be addressed at the planning board. They are not allowed to have any additional runoff from their property, so that will have to be addressed there. J.P. Maloney says thank you. And Patty Rhodes, will the wetlands filing be public? All documents that are associated with the planning board hearing will have to be made public. Okay, so that seems to address all them. May I have a motion to close the public hearing and adopt ordinance 2020-08?
So move, Mayor.
May I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Roll call, please.
Committeeman Delcourt?
Yes.
Committeewoman Holmes?
No.
Committeewoman McCauley?
Yes?
Deputy Mayor Lapani?
Yes.
Mayor Thompson.
Yes, and as we've talked about in the past, this is a part of our affordable housing obligation. To ignore us would simply get us sued and in a worse spot. Anyone who has sat in any of the meetings that we've had or executive sessions to not understand the consequences of not adopting ordinances like this it's a shame. We shouldn't be having to do this, but until we actually get help from the state legislature and the courts that would prevent the municipalities from being forced to build on open space, like the brick factory, like all the other spots in town that we're being forced on, this will continue. So again, I plead with the state legislature to please address this, because you simply can't vote no and stick your head in the sand and not address this. This has to be addressed, and if we don't, we're in a worse off situation. So I implore the state of New Jersey to please help municipalities like ours, like South Brunswick, like numerous others in the state that are facing the same situation that we are. Moving on to introduction of new ordinance.
My question is, since we've known for a long
Could you state,
time...
it's Committeewoman Holmes. I just want them to know for the record, they don't, can't
Committeewoman
see.
Holmes. My question is, just since we've known about having to do this for such a long time, how we got in a position where these developers, these interlopers, as I'm told they're called, are suing us. Interveners are suing us and then deciding what our town looks like. It seems like if we had had a master plan that addressed this problem, we would have had more say in where
Well,
we
so
have these.
I'd be happy to address that, but to understand the lawsuits that have been going on in this from 1998 and in 2015, when it was completely thrown out and started all over again, and basically upended what we've been working on for years here, to try to simplify it and say we didn't have a plan is very insulting to so many planners that we've had here. And Eric, would you like to comment? Because I know you've been working through numerous administrations, both Republican and Democrat, here in municipality about everything that's been going on with affordable housing since 1998.
Well, let's start with all due respect to the committeewoman, the initial fallacy that somehow this could be made better by a master plan. When the Township's Round 2 obligation came to an end in 1998, and the committee may or may not be familiar, we were court town in Round 2. We were subject to a builder's remedy suit. There was a different administration at the time. We were subject to basically being forced to zone various projects, and we got projects, some of which provided affordable housing, and some of which provided the Hillsborough Promenade. Starting in 1998, the Township has been proactive in attempting to address its various affordable housing needs. The problem, unfortunately, over the years that went along was that COA kept changing their regulations. Fair share housing and other affordable housing advocates continued to go to court. And every time the regulations seemed to be in a spot where they might be pliable or usable, the appellate division or the Supreme Court ruled they were ineligible. The Township was actually less than a month away from getting an approved plan, I believe in 2008, when the court changed the regulations again. And this went on for another several years. The Township continued to maintain its desire to build affordable housing, knowing that there would be an obligation at some point that brings us to the situation we are today. In 2015, the New Jersey Supreme Court, Justice Lavecchia's decision in NJAC 5:96 and 97, basically said the courts had had enough. The courts could no longer rely on COA. The courts could no longer rely on other obligations to occur, and basically took it in the hands of the courts. Various judges, further vicinages that the courts have set up, were assigned to oversee these matters. In 2015, the Township filed a declaratory judgment action to protect itself from a loss of immunity under Justice Lavecchia's decision. As part of that declaratory judgment action, 8 groups of people filed intervener status. One of them was M&M Realty. who has been a party to this entire litigation. So to basically ignore them was not in the township's best interest, and as the mayor indicated previously, they have attempted numerous recitations to put a significant amount of housing on the site, and what we got down to and what we negotiated with the court, with the master, with Fair Share Housing was a seat at the table for every one of these matters is a plan that is far from perfect, but considering the situation at hand, significantly better than what we could have faced, which was possibly 10,000 people living on that site in multifamily housing that was simply not acceptable. You don't get industrial or commercial or shopping on that site with an intervener who was ready, willing, and able to build your affordable housing obligation and was ready, willing, and able to build significantly more affordable housing than we wanted them to do in exchange for vastly more market rate housing than we had any desire to have. This process has never been perfect. The community knows that. She's been part of the discussions over the last year plus, and the situation at hand is culminating in what we believe to be a very positive outlook considering the type of township, type of municipality Hillsborough is, the amount of open space we still have, the desirability of people, and the number of interveners we engaged in.
Thank you very much, Eric. I appreciate that.
Mayor, can I say something?
Please.
If you don't mind? You know, we have gone through this multiple times, and I think our counsel there gave us a good summary. But just so everyone is clear, there are relatively few good options available to us as it relates to affordable housing. However, the worst possible option is voting no, and that is completely irresponsible from a member of this township committee. Not abiding by the requirements of the courts and leaving ourselves open to developer lawsuits to step in and us to lose complete control over any type of planning and development is the last thing this township committee should ever be doing. Is this transaction perfect? Of course not. But when you look at comparatively to what other towns have done, similar in size or even large, smaller than us, and the amount of affordable housing requirement they have, the negotiations that Mr. Bernstein, Mr. Ferreira, Jen Beam, our consultant, have gone through to get us to the point that we are, where we now have 195 over what we've already committed to, is nothing short of a miracle. And the sense that somehow we should be voting no on an ordinance change when this is not even the site plan. And for those of you that are asking questions regarding the specific site plan, there will be ample opportunity. And in response to Mr. Brooks, because frankly, his questions were for someone who sat on local committees at one point, he knows very well that the questions that he asked will be answered at planning board when a final plan is submitted, and all of those issues regarding environmental concerns, regarding what can be built where, what standards they will be built to, what the wetlands are, how it deals with Royce Brook, are things that will be dealt with by the DEP, by the DNR Canal Commission. Those are not solely issues that this township committee is responsible for. So we've gone through this multiple times. For those of you that have not been aware of the affordable housing requirements, I'm sorry if this is an eye-opener for you, but as the mayor noted, there was an open house town hall last year that was done, and I would recommend that anyone go take a look at that, because it outlines the requirements that we have as a township committee that have been mandated to us by the state. This is not our choosing. This is not something that we've brought upon ourselves. This is something that's been mandated by the state. And if we want to reject the development plans that are part of this plan, All we will do is leave the development completely at the discretion of the developers, rather than having any control of what gets built and where. So that's why I voted no. I voted yes on this, and I'm shocked that we've got anyone voting no.
Okay, thank you. Moving on to introduction of new ordinances at this time, 2020-15, an ordinance providing for the vacation of a 0.027 acre portion of land along the westerly line of Route 206, abutting the property previously identified as Block 178, Lot 7, following consolidation of Block 178, Lots 4.11, identified as Block 178, Lot 4.01, Township of Hillsborough, County, Somerset, State of New Jersey. Further consideration of this ordinance and public hearing will be held on May 26, 2020. This pertains to the Hillsborough Village Center development along Route 206 and Hillsborough Road. May I have a motion to introduce this ordinance? So moved.
Second?
Any comments from the dais? Seeing none, comments from the floor. If we can open up the bridge again. If you could start typing your questions into YouTube so we could check them out as we go forward. Is there any comments on the phone? Seeing none, if you could close the bridge.
All participants are now in listen-only mode.
I'll wait a second to see if anyone pops up online.
I'm just pissed I have a headache.
I think we're going to go ahead and make a motion. We could just go to roll call. Could we have a roll call, please?
Committeeman Delcor?
Yes.
Committeewoman Holmes?
Yes.
Committeewoman McCauley?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Lapani?
Yes.
Mayor Thompson?
Yes. Moving on to resolutions this evening. Does anyone on the dais wish to take any items separately?
I would, Committeewoman Holmes, I'd like to make a comment about the,
We're not up to comments yet. Do you want to take any separately?
yeah, I'll take 12 separately.
Okay.
Okay. So regarding consent number 5, in 2018, the township authorized the borrowing of up to $8.5 million for much-needed road repairs and improvements. In 2019, bond anticipation notes were issued to fund $4 million of those monies. The notes mature annually. The township went out to bid for this rollover and were able to secure an interest rate of 1% for a term of 1 year. This confirms that action. Consent number 6 is following Executive Order 130, where we are extending the deadline to pay second quarter taxes until June 1st, 2020. Consent number 10, congratulations to Officers Anzalone, Singh, Kelly, and Sakers in the Hillsborough Township Police Department on their permanent appointments. Consent number 11, HR 6467, we are asking for COVID-19 relief packages to be made available to municipalities regardless of population size. There were no municipalities in Congressional District 7 represented by Congressman Malinowski that were able to get any funds. We are hoping that we can get additional or that we can get any funds in this next round of COVID relief or hopeful COVID relief. So taking items 1 through 11, may I have a motion?
So move, Mayor.
Second.
Comments from the dais?
Just a quick one from me. I just wanted to say quick congratulations to all the officers who are moving into their respective permanent status as of now. All outstanding officers, of course, and working hard, so I just wanted to say congratulations to them.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments from the dais? Seeing none, comments from the floor?
All participants are now in interactive talk mode.
Again, if you're on the line, if you have any comments on resolutions 1 through 11, please state your name and address for the record, and anyone online, if you could start typing. I think we have one. Thank you. All right, if we want to go ahead and close.
All participants are now in listen-only mode.
Does anyone have the exact address of number 9? We have a question online from Susan Gullah for resolution number 9, location by nearest streets. I'm trying to pull it up.
Primrose School Development?
Primrose School Development
Falcon Road.
on Falcon Road. Hope that answered your question, Susan. Any other, we moved on from there, so moving on to roll call.
Committeeman Delcor?
Yes.
Committeewoman Holmes?
Yes.
Committeewoman McCauley?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Lapani?
Yes.
Mayor Thompson?
Yes. Okay, now we're going to do resolution number 12, is a resolution requesting Governor Murphy to permit the opening of the Sauerland Mountain Preserve. So, may I have a motion on that?
So moved.
Could I get a second?
Second.
Second, okay. Comment from me real quick. As anyone noted at the last Township Committee meeting, we had Committeeman Delcourt and Committeewoman Olivia Holmes both noted that our residents have been doing a great job of social distancing at all of our county parks. On Saturday, which was a beautiful day, we had numerous people taking advantage of Merdinger Trails and also Otto's Farm Park in Sauerlands. We had no reports of individuals not adhering to good practices. And when you have 3,000 acres of available trails, and we have a county park service that could certainly amply patrol those, I think it's in the best interest of the mental health of our public that they have the opportunity to take advantage of the lands that they currently pay for. I really, if New York City can keep their parks open, I do not see why we can't open a 3,000-acre park here in our municipality, especially when we've seen such a great job, and it's been noted by my colleagues, Committeeman Delcourt and Committeewoman Holmes, for the great job people have been doing at our other parks. So that's why we're asking that they will consider opening up the Sauerland Mountains as soon as possible. Any other comments from the dais?
I have one. I understand everyone wants to open everything up. This particular park, this county park, you know, I have seen abuses at it. It's a place where people from all over, not just Hillsborough, teenagers come in their cars, they tell their parents they're doing whatever, and they meet up there, play Frisbee. They don't do social distancing. It's kind of like when that California governor or whoever opened the beach. They just get up there and forget. A lot of young people. We closed the park, and 2 weeks ago,
No, the governor closed the park. We didn't close the park.
yes, the governor, but I meant we as, you know, at our state. What I'm saying is that we are a very small state, and we have high density, and we live very close to New York, and they hit their crest, and then it starts coming west to us. We have more people living in New Jersey per capita than any other state, I believe, and we have over 100,000 cases, and we haven't really done all the testing we can do. So considering how dense our population is, I'm just thinking, what's the rush? On the front page of the Star-Ledger this morning, it showed, I brought it because I just saw it on the table, but it said Murphy unveils plan to reopen the Garden State, and he goes, you know, line by line about it, how he's doing it. He even thinks maybe some things might be able to be done by Memorial Day. So I just think it's so dangerous. What's the rush?
Could you explain what the difference between New York City's population of 9 million and then us being able to go to a 3,000 acre? If they're able to keep their parks open, but we can't, and they have a higher concentration of individuals who are currently affected by this?
I think it's because the people who are in those parks are walking from, they're not driving. We have a parking lot that people are parked really close together. They come out, and there just isn't the social distancing that you are talking about. When it was first closed, you heard about the Texas Pipeline Service Road, and there were like 19 cars on there, and they were full of teenagers, and they didn't have masks, and they were walking down the street to get into the park illegally, and then they were, you know, they came out, and they were just all in groups and hordes. So I'm just saying, what's the rush? A few more days, a couple more weeks. I want to get that park open. I don't want people parking in the field. I don't want our policemen to have to take time to patrol it. But I just don't know what the rush is, because this is about, you know, safety.
Okay.
Mayor, if I might, you know, as you know, we've made a decision as a community. I know Committeewoman Holmes was part of that, where we would keep the township parks open. I guess I'm not really sure what the difference is between, you know, being willing to keep the township parks open, but not be able to open one of the county parks. I think these are locations that the taxpayers have paid for. And the trails are a tremendous outlet for people to be able to exercise, get fresh air, be outside, and do it in a safe manner. I think we've seen that in a very significant way in our township parks, and I have full faith in the residents of Hillsborough and the county that people continue to do the right thing. And if they don't, we will continue to have monitoring of any of the locations, that if there are those that are not following guidelines, we can always have our monitoring disperse those groups and revisit that. But, I would personally like to see the opportunity for people to get outside and do a little exercising. And if we're using our township parks, that beautiful Sourland Preserve is an area that I'd like to see people get outside and utilize as well. So I think the recommendation to the governor is something I would certainly welcome.
And just to be clear, that county does employ, the Parks Commission employs park rangers. That could certainly be used to help make sure individuals are doing this. A lot of the problems that we talked about were also before the governor put out an executive order saying you have to also wear masks, which should also alleviate some of the concerns that were being raised here.
Mayor, if I could add one
Yep.
small
Please.
point of reference. So, first of all, this is not us opening, we're just asking to be open, so we could still be denied by the governor. But secondly, Ms. Holmes suggested we might have 19 or 20 cars. I dare to say for most of the people that go to ShopRite or Costco or anywhere else to do their food shopping, there are far more than 20 cars in that parking lot parked, walking into a store that is far more densely populated per square foot to get their shopping supplies than a 4,000-acre park with miles and miles of trails. So if you reduce it to the ridiculous of people per square foot, there's nothing even close. And as Committeeman Delcourt stated, the people have acted in good conscience, and of course there's always going to be a few people that might not. That's when the enforcement happens. But again, this isn't up to me, our decision. This is just asking permission to open a park that is not being used, that could add some benefits to a public that is stressed in a house. That's all.
Thank you. Moving on, we're going to go on to public comment from individuals from the floor. So I have a couple comments online. So first, we're going to go to the phone.
Just on resolution 12.
Yes.
Now, in listen-only mode.
Nope. This is open for everyone?
Not yet.
Oh, no, we can open it up. This is just on number 12.
All participants are now in interactive talk mode.
Do you have any comments from those individuals on the phone?
This is Assemblyman Roy Bonnett.
Yes, Assemblyman, how are you this evening?
I'm well, thank you. I'd like to offer some comments on this resolution.
Please.
First of all, I want to thank everyone in the township for doing an amazing job during this crisis and this emergency. I really, as a resident here, I really do appreciate everything you're doing and safeguarding the health for everyone. So thank you. Regarding specifically this particular resolution, I do support the desire and the intent of the resolution. I support the fact that even that a number of my own colleagues from the Senate and others that desire to reopen the parks as fast as possible. We all want to get out. We all want to get back to a sense of normalcy and encourage the outdoor activities. We have beautiful parks. But I have some reservations as to why this particular park, Carolina Park, while it is large in size, has a number of choke points associated with it in terms of boardwalks and bridges and limited number of entrances. There's just limited trails, and it's very similar to the canal walk, where it's large in size. There are times it can be incredibly dense. So when I was thinking about, your encouragement of opening of a county park within the town, I was kind of taken back as to why you didn't recommend Mountain View Park, which is much more open space and wide. and much less, chance of anyone needing to swing into a trail area. So I applaud your desire to take advantage of these things. The township has made some really strong decisions, even when having parks open within the township. You removed basketball hoops because you saw some activities that you didn't deem as appropriate. You wanted to make sure we wanted to have the appropriate sort of distancing. I question whether the next few weeks that are letting the data drive our decision-making should continue to rule. And that's why I just ask you to rethink whether this is really data-driven overall, and if this is really, if you want to support the decision, is this the wide open park where people can truly spread out? So thank you for allowing me to offer some more comments.
I appreciate your comments, and I would simply say that if you had the opportunity to visit one of our other fine parks on the other side of the Sauerland, Otto's Farm, you'll see that our residents have done a great job of social distancing there, and I'm not quite sure how on one side of the mountain it should be permitted and not on the other. So if you applaud our decision to keep half the mountain open, I would hope that you could support a decision to encourage the governor to keep the other half of it open. The other thing, the comment about Mountain View Park, as you know, the biggest attractions there, although there is a walking trail around a larger portion of it, for the majority of it, it's to play baseball and also to do other sports activities. There's jungle gym and things like that. Obviously, we are not encouraging people to do sports activities at this time. We are being very clear that we are saying that in a large area, even with choke points, because I've been through ShopRite, and I can assure you that there are numerous choke points in ShopRite, I was there today, that people will be able to wear masks and walk around each other in the outdoors. And again, if New York City, which is far more dense than us, has their parks open, I don't know why we wouldn't ask the governor to consider looking at the data and seeing that per square foot or whatever, that there could be an opportunity for us to use those facilities. So again, I thank you for your comments. Are there any comments from any other individuals online?
Yes.
Could you please state your name and address for the record?
David Brook, 7 Winding Way. So we should not be comparing ourselves to New York City. Consider how many people have died in New York City. That's not exactly a great comparison. In addition, here's the other issue. We need to coordinate with any parks that are going to open, regardless of the size of that park. And obviously, between the council members, the committee members, it's gone from 3,000 to 4,000. We should get our acres right. But the problem is, you can't just open a place, recommend a place be open, because what's going to happen? Everybody that wanted to go to the DNR Canal, or 6-mile run, is all going to go over to the Sauerland. So it needs to be a coordinated approach. All you folks, have indicated that we're trying to do this in a coordinated fashion. So to pick one place and say, we should open that, all it's going to do is invite everybody who wanted to go someplace else to now go to the Sauerland. I think that's not a smart move on anybody's part, and all of you should listen to Olivia for a change, because she's the one that's making sense, and none of you are. Thank you.
I appreciate that, Mr. Brooks. I will add that I just appreciate your comments. Thank you. Any other comments from the individuals online? I'm sorry, Mr. Delacour.
I just want to say I want to thank him for that nakedly partisan and political comment. Thank you.
As a Democratic candidate this year, thank you.
Any other comments from individuals on the phone?
Yeah, this is Harold Lindbergh. I think the point here is in terms of, why we're comparing New York to, a town in New Jersey that has a 3,000-plus acre park, is that, I think it's what Olivia said, that if people are coming from far away, we're only 45 minutes from New York. And that really defies the logic of our social distancing. We're bringing people
I can't hear her.
from a different area. And I think that's part of the problem. And the second thing I want to say, this is something I don't understand, but it kind of goes to David's point about coordinating. The Sauerland goes into 3 different counties. I believe it covers parts of Mercer and Hunterdon also. So if we open up, I'm not sure how the governance works, but if we open up part of it, what, does that mean that we're now bringing people up to the edge of other counties who are maintaining social distancing and are keeping the park closed? It's just that I don't think, if the park is closed in Mercer and Hunterdon, then, we're kind of risking those counties by keeping it open in Hillsborough.
Well, it's keeping them from going to our other parks.
Okay, I had a little trouble hearing from you. There were a couple breakups there. I think I got what you were saying. In my estimation, again, we're asking the governor. It does not mean he's going to say yes. And again, this should be in coordination at some point, and that's why we're asking for him to consider opening the parks. Again, we didn't ask him to open Mountain View Park. We said the Sauerland Mountains, and we asked that he look into it. This is not us opening it by resolution, because as you know, by executive order, he closed all county and municipal parks.
State. County and state.
County and state, thank you, I apologize, county and state parks, and left it up to the individual municipalities, which I assume the governor did that because he believes that the Township Committee knows their residents best. I'm assuming that, I don't know, I wasn't in the room when he wrote the executive order, but I'm hoping that was part of the thought process, that we would know what parks needed to be open and closed, and that's why you've seen fencing around some of our parks to make sure individuals couldn't go onto the playgrounds and things like that, because we worked with our Parks Committee to get that done. Any other comments from those on the phone? And then I'll start reading the comments. Seeing none, if we could close the bridge. From Susan Gulliford on resolution number 12, how do we prevent the past problems with kids partying in the preserve if it is reopened? Great question. I would certainly task our county park rangers, which I know we employ, to make sure they look into that. I know people do call our police department at times about things going on in the Sauerland, so I'm sure they would do that as well. Remember, county parks also close at dusk, so this isn't like it's going deep into the night. This would be during the daytime, the normal park hours. Mr. Fritz G., I have a question about the property being agreed to be bought after rezoning. I'm not sure what that was in reference to, so feel free to email us at mayor@hillsborough-nj.org. Be happy to answer your question. Also, this is from Susan Gulliford. Many of the preserve trails are very narrow. How will we regulate that? Laverchuk, Mr. Mayor, there are over 11,000 dead in New York City. Are you serious? I am serious when I'm talking about the possibility of asking the governor to consider opening the park. I want people to understand this is not saying we are opening the park. This is asking the governor to take data-driven decisions and open the park if it's deemed necessary and possible. That's what we're asking for him to do. So again, this is for him to look into it based on, again, what my colleagues have said, including Committeeman Delcourt and Committeewoman Holmes, who have talked about at previous meetings the great job people did at Otto's Farm Park, which is on the other side of the Sauerland. So closing half the Sauerlands and not the other, just trying to understand the genesis there. And last but not least, I think the video feed might have just cut out, so I apologize if that happened. Last from Michelle Kidd, said, well said, Assemblyman. Assuming she was similar to some of our refinement. Again, if you have any other comments, please state your address as well for the record. It's important for our record keeping. Okay, so with that, we have a motion. We have the comments from the dais, comments from the floor. Moving on to a roll call on consent, resolution number 12. I guess it's not consent, resolution number 12.
So moved, Mayor.
Thank you. We have a first and a second, so I think we're just doing roll call now.
Oh, sorry.
But thank you. I appreciate
I
it.
got sidetracked, sorry.
Roll call.
Committeeman Delcourt.
Yes.
Committeewoman Holmes.
No.
Committeewoman McCauley.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor LaPani.
Yes.
Mayor Thompson.
Yes. We have a motion to approve claims list 2020-08.
So moved. Second?
Any comments from the dais? Open up bridge, please.
All participants are now in interactive talk mode.
Any comments from the floor? Again, this is in regards to
Claims list.
a claims list.
Claims list, yeah.
Thank you. Seeing none, if we can close the bridge.
All participants are now in listen-only mode.
Seeing no comments via YouTube, could I get a roll call, please?
Committeeman Delcor?
Yes.
Committeewoman Holmes?
Yes.
Committeewoman McCauley?
Yes?
Deputy Mayor LaPani?
Yes.
Mayor Thompson?
Yes. All right, moving on to adjournment. May I have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
So moved.
Second?
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
We are adjourned. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.